and confrontation and how to handle that. So I'm going to first address the scenario I talked about with the husband and wife, where he asked her to pick up the suit jackets, and the next day she did it, but she got passive aggressive because she didn't want to do it. She didn't know how to say no, and she threw them crumpled in the backseat of the car. All right, so she sabotaged the request because she didn't know how to say no. So I want to talk about that first when you walk into something like that, and then I'm going to talk to you about when you want to prepare for confrontation and how to do that, what that model looks like. Okay, so if that had been me with, the experience I have now, and I had said, hey, did you pick up the suit jackets? And she said, yep, they're downstairs in the car. I walked downstairs and I saw they're all crumpled underneath the briefcase. Now, his reaction was, how could you be so stupid? Like, don't you realize what you did? Like, it's common sense not to throw suit jackets underneath stuff and then pile stuff on top of it. They're trashed. I can't wear them, right? Is he wrong? He's probably right. Let me know how that's going to work out for you if you come at your wife with that. I think you're pretty close. You're on your way to a divorce if that's how you're going to talk to her. So here's what I've learned. Look at that situation, right? Obviously something's going on, because I know me. I would have picked a woman who's smart. She knows I don't need to remind her that jackets need to be hung up. She knows that. So something is obviously going on. Don't know what it is, but I need to ask for information. So the first thing is, instead of jumping on the attack, it's recognizing, wait a minute, I live with a smart person here. They know better than this. I need to ask for more information. So my response to her would have been, hey, I'll call her Sharon. Hey, Sharon, I just grabbed the jackets and I noticed they're piled up under a bunch of stuff. Can you give me some more information as to how that happened? Well, you're so selfish. I can't believe you're so arrogant, too, to get upset that the jackets are dirty and crumpled. You just need to do things for yourself, right? That's probably what the response would have been, something along those lines. Well, again, I would ignore the words and I'd focus on the emotion. And I go, okay, I can see you're really upset and something's going on. Can you tell me more about it? I heard you say you feel like I'm selfish and I'm arrogant. Can you give me some more information? You see, I'm not attaching to her fear. I'm not attaching to her words. I'm recognizing she feels afraid, which means she feels rejected, inadequate, and powerless in some form. I'm trying to find out where that is, okay? So most likely she would say something like, well, all you ever do is ask me to do stuff for you. You never do it yourself. You're so selfish and inconsiderate. Well, then my next response would be something like, so I feel like you're saying that all I ever do is make requests of you and you don't think I can take care of myself? Is that what I'm hearing? And that you feel it's a burden on you? Well, yeah, that's all you do. Again, it's not attaching to the words, it's trying to find out. So eventually what I'd do is I would switch into, okay, well, what I'm hearing is you'd like me to do more stuff for myself and make less requests of you. Would that make you feel like I'm less selfish? So in other words, I'm trying to find the solution to what's causing her fear. Now, once I went through that, if she said that, the other thing I would add is I'd make a request. I'd say, it sounds like what's really going on here is you'd like to say no to me more often. Well, I'd love it if you did. It would really make me happy if you said no, because I don't want this kind of fighting and for you to feel like I'm selfish and inconsiderate. So if you ever feel like there's a request that I make and you don't want to do, I'd really appreciate it if you said no. So that gets to the solution, and it honors what they're feeling without getting sucked in to the dynamic of their fear. Because you know what it's like. We've all been in those fights. They go nowhere. Because you have two people. It's called arguing realities. All right? Let me give you an example. What do you see? For those of you listening on radio, I'm holding up a glass of water. So most people would say you're holding up water, right? Well, it's not water, it's Coke. Can't you see? This is Coke. Don't you see the red label? Here, try a sip. It's really sweet. My point in doing that is there are many things in life where you're going to see water and I'm going to see Coke. And there's nothing you can say or do that's ever going to get me to change my mind. That's called a reality argument. My reality is that's Coke. Your reality, it's water. To argue over realities is like two kids fighting over Tonka trucks in the schoolyard. You're never going to solve it because you're both demanding the other person take on your belief system. Well, we don't want to give ourselves away. So the more you ask me to give away my belief system, the more denial and the more staunch I get in my position. So that's what happens in most relationships, business relationships, whatever they are. People are arguing realities, and that gets us nowhere. So when you have differing realities like that, the key is to let it go and get into the emotion. All right? I'm doing a whole speech on this Friday where I show people, how to break down listening to people's emotions. And because that's all they're trying to share with you is what they're feeling, not their thoughts. Their thoughts are just their attempt to share with you the kind of hurt and fear that they're in. And so when you learn to listen this way and stop fighting over realities, that's where connection happens, especially in business. In business, everyone tries to use words as a sales pitch, a manipulation, and that creates a feeling of distrust. And it actually pushes people away. That's why it doesn't work. Or most sales trainers, they just say, don't accept no for an answer, beat somebody down. Well, you may get an initial order or something like that, but you don't get repeat business because there's not an emotional connection. You haven't heard what their fears are. And so you have to listen for that. Where do they feel rejected, inadequate, and powerless? And when you can meet those needs, that's when people will buy from you and buy from you repeatedly. That's why it's so important to focus on their emotions. So remember, if you want to call or you have a question, if you want to call me on Skype. Just look for my name, Kenny Weiss. Give me a call. If you want me to answer a certain topic, just type it in on Facebook here, and I'll be happy to address anything you want. So now I want to talk about the confrontation model. And there's several steps to this. The first step in confronting somebody is asking their permission. A lot of times we confront somebody and it's the busiest time of the day, so they're at work and you're like, look, we need to talk about this. Well, it's probably not a good time. So the first thing to say is, hey, there's something I want to talk to you about. Is now a good time? Are you available? And if they say no, I'm really busy. Okay. Can you tell me when in your schedule you can fit that in? Is it in an hour? Is it later tonight? Tomorrow? When is it? So that's the first step, is you negotiate. Are they in an intellectual and emotional place to be present for you before you get into the discussion? All right. So let's assume they're like, yeah, no, I'm fine. The way to share what's going on, like most people in that example earlier about the suit jackets would go, don't you realize how stupid it is to leave the suit coats, piled up under stuff? It ruins them. I can't believe you do that. Well, that's all pointing the finger, and there's a ton of assumption there. So the first thing to do is, again, make everything a question. And so you start with what I observed. So let's say that suit jacket question, or the suit jacket issue happened. The next day he comes in and says, hey, I'd like to talk about this. He starts off with, yesterday I observed when I went to pick up the suit jackets out of the car that the briefcases and boxes and tons of stuff were piled up on it. And I noticed they were all wrinkled, which meant I couldn't wear them. So all he's describing is his reality, his version of events, which may be true to him, but see, in a lot of arguments, their reality is different. They're like, no, that's not how I left it. Okay? So that's why the important thing is share your observation, your reality. It doesn't mean you're always right. It's your version. And so that's where you start with is it's my recollection, and this is what I observed. All right? The next thing you share after that is what you make up about that. So now this is where you can get into the conjecture. So yesterday when I observed the suit jackets piled up underneath everything and all wrinkled, I made up that you were trying to piss me off and that you don't know how to hang up suit jackets and that maybe I need to teach you. See, we don't know if any of that's true, but that's what we make up, right? So what we're sharing is our own judgments. We're being vulnerable and really sharing our childish insight. It's a vulnerable move. It's not an attack on the other person. It's telling the person about our own weaknesses, our own judgments, okay? So first, again, the first thing you share is your observation. The second thing is what you make up about the observation, because remember, this is your reality. It doesn't mean it's true. The third thing you share is how that makes you feel. So yesterday when I went to get the suit jackets out of the car, I observed them all wrinkled and underneath a bunch of stuff. I make up that you didn't care about my suit jackets, or that maybe you didn't know how to hang them up. And about that, I feel really pissed off. I feel that you don't care about me or what's important to me. I feel like now I have this obligation and that I have to go get these pressed, and I needed a suit coat today. So I feel helpless and hopeless and out of control because something I requested, now it's put me in a real bind. So first piece, share your observation, what you make up, how it makes you feel. Now the next step, you have two choices. You can either ask for your needs and wants, or you can ask for more information. What I really recommend is you ask for more information, because most of the time, remember reality arguments, what we are making up and the feelings we are sharing about what we make up are really about us. They're not true. And so the most important thing is to ask for information. So I observed yesterday the suit coats underneath everything all wrinkled. About that, I make up that you don't care about me. That makes me feel. About that, I choose to feel is really the way that we say it, because no one ever makes us feel anything. We choose how to feel about it. About that, I feel rejected. I feel powerless. So I was wondering if you could give me more information as to what was going on with you and why the suit jackets ended up underneath everything. Can you share that with me? Now at this point, the other person gets to go, what their job is in this confrontation model isn't to argue, well, that's not true. It's to give back what they think they heard. So let me see if I'm hearing you right. Yesterday, you're saying that you observed grabbing the suit coats, seeing them wrinkled. About that, you made up, I didn't care about you, and you feel angry and hurt over that, and you'd like more information about why that is. Now we go back to him. He'd say, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Or he'd say, well, that's not quite it. This is actually what I'm trying to say. She would again repeat it back. So what you're trying to get is an understanding of what this person's reality is. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about understanding your partner and their view of things. So now, once she has that, then her response becomes, okay, now that I understand you, would you like some more information? Yes, that's why I'm asking. Well, here's my recollection. My recollection is, yeah, the suit coats were underneath stuff. I agree with you on that. It makes me sad that you make up all of those things, because that's not what I was feeling. What I was feeling was hurt and angry, because what I make up is that you take advantage of me and you don't appreciate what I do. And so you're constantly making requests